Friends, Dave Paulides, Canine Missing Project, and that is our executive producer, Huck. She's a bit ragged. She's been running around out in the snow, getting dirty. She needs to go get a bath. We'll probably do that this week. But she's been in a good mood, having fun, loves the freezing cold. And now we'll giddy up. This, friends, the American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, or Monster. Watch it on Amazon and Apple TV. I hope you've seen it. I've had a lot of comments about it. We're going to start this film talking about some things that have been brought up by people who have watched the film. And then I'm going to tell you about a missing persons case that we've never talked about before. So first, I'm amazed at the number of people who were Kickstarter supporters for Missing 411 National Parks and saw the American Sasquatch movie come out and think that they supported that movie with their funds. I'm blown away. There's probably 20 people. Said, Dave, well, how come I don't have access to this film? Because I supported it. No. This was privately funded. No Kickstarter money was involved. Again, I'm stunned that people don't know what they invested in. But just so you know, no money. Okay? The other part is that I've been asked probably 50 times since the movie came out, why did I pick those people that were in the movie? And if you're not in the Bigfoot community, I want to go down this list. I'm not going to take a long time. And I'm not going to include everybody that was in the film, but I'm going to include some of the more important ones. First person I want to talk about is Scott Nelson, the cryptolinguist specialist, worked for the Navy for 20 years, retired, is a language specialist, speaks 7 languages, and he's the one that analyzed Ron Moorhead's tapes from the Sierra Sounds and found that they were language. He's a predominant figure in the movie. Now, I don't know Scott just a little. I know Scott a lot. We first met at a conference in Honobi, Oklahoma. And there were some rough characters at this conference. It was me, Harvey, Scott, Harvey Pratt, and a few other people. But what Scott was saying about language back then, and what I was saying about Bigfoot back then, some of the crowd did not like it. And they made it very obvious to us they didn't really want us there. The people that put on the conference did, but these other people didn't. And they were subtly threatening us. In fact, at one point, Harvey said, hey, Gina, you got your gun? She was an Oklahoma special agent. She goes, yeah, I got my gun. And then Scott said to me privately, he goes, Dave, if these guys do anything to us, we'll kick their butts. And I think, yeah, I'm not really worried about that. I'm worried about us blowing up they're blowing up our cars before we leave. And that would be something that would play back the following year. Yeah, we got out of there, and we even got invited back a second time. The organizers loved us. Next year we come back. They're giving the conference at some fairgrounds. And the building we're in is not that far away from the county fairground restrooms. I kid you not. While the conference is going on, a bomb blows up in the restrooms. I'm not kidding you. So when I talk about the Bigfoot community being a wild card, yeah, they can be dangerous. I don't know how many times I could say that. But if I ever had to be at a conference with somebody and crap went down, oh, Scott Nelson. He may look like a real passive figure. That guy's tougher than anything. And I know he'd cover your back to the end. And that's why I love Scott. He doesn't back down. He knows what he says is the truth, and he doesn't lie. And I spent 8 days with him and Ron Moorhead at that Sierra camp. Some of the best days I've ever spent in the woods in my life. Dr. Rob Alley. Rob is an intellect. Genius level. And I'm serious. I have a tough time keeping up with him. He spent decades in Alaska working and studying Bigfoot on the side. And he was smart enough to talk to everybody. First Nations people, his clients, fishermen, hunters. And he was healthy, and he still is real healthy. And he hiked miles into the woods to look at things and study them. And the books he's written are stupendous. Anytime I'm around Rob, I usually do what my mom tells me to do. Keep your mouth shut and your ears open and listen twice as much as you're talking, because I learn a lot from him. I wish he lived closer. I consider him a really good friend. And Ron Moorhead. Ron's more to me than a friend. I consider him and Harvey Pratt the two brothers I never had. They're both enormously smart. They look inside themselves for the right answer. They're humble. Ron has lived one of those lives that I'm sure all of us wish we had. He was a pilot. He owned several planes. One of the planes he owned was a Cessna Skymaster, a plane my dad always wanted to have, twin engine. And it was certified to fly on one engine. And Ron flew that thing all over the Western Hemisphere. South America, British Columbia. He went to South America studying the elongated skulls. He went to British Columbia looking for locations Bigfoot was supposedly at. And then he had the Sierra Sounds on top of all this. Just an unbelievable life. If you ever get a chance to hear this man speak, you listen. He was at the premiere with his daughter. Great time. I love seeing that guy. I love that he was there. Humbled by his presence. Harvey Pratt, retired Bureau of Investigations for Oklahoma. He was their assistant director, chief forensic artist for the state of Oklahoma. He drew and painted many of the pieces in the Oklahoma Superior Court building and legislation centers for Oklahoma. He designed, with his son Nathan, the Native American War Memorial at the Smithsonian. Look it up. He and I have done many things together. We wrote the first two books, Hoopa Project, Tribal Bigfoot. And Harvey did all the forensic sketches in my newest book, American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, or Legend, available at missing411.com. And he did the movie. Again, he's one of the closest things I have to a brother. Love that guy. Harvey, like I stated at the premiere, is not doing well. Not doing well at all. And at the premiere, I asked for 1 minute of silence. You could have heard a pin drop. So many people came up to me afterwards and said, "We're praying for Harvey. He needs your prayers. He needs them." Dr. Colm Kelleher, bar none, one of the smartest men I've ever met. I'm lucky I didn't meet that guy when I was young, because later in life I knew to keep my mouth shut and just listen. Because probably when I opened my mouth I would say something stupid. But he was a manager of all investigative services at Skinwalker Ranch under Robert Bigelow. Thanks to George Knapp, I met Colm in Las Vegas several times. We had some of the best conversations I've ever had with anyone, just intellectually. He's now studying consciousness with Bigelow. And I'm very indebted for him giving me the interview that he did for the movie. He doesn't do many interviews. And he was an open book. There was nothing that was off limits. He spoke to me about everything. What you saw in the movie was a very small amount of that total lengthy interview I did with him. He didn't say he had to go. He didn't say, oh, let's get going. Nothing. He sat there and politely and eagerly answered everything. The amount of knowledge that man has about Bigfoot, UFOs, consciousness, life, the interrelationship between us and the spirit world is probably off the charts. And he and George Knapp wrote one of the greatest books ever, The Hunt for Skinwalker. And I've stated many times, that's probably one of my top 5 books of all times. So call him if you're watching. Thank you. Thank you for doing that interview. Joe Hauser, owner of the Montana Vortex, 15 minutes from my house. I don't know of one person I've ever sent over there to take the tour that ever came back to me and said, "Man, Dave, it wasn't very good." Everyone is astounded. They can't believe what happens there. Just the facts. I go there probably 25, 30 times every summer. There's a place there where a psychic told me is a pipeline to the spirit world. Now I know everyone says, well, Dave, your pipeline is anywhere you make it. You can talk to the spirits anywhere you're at. Well, I know that. But I go there. I talk. And I've had some very strange responses while I was there. And I was there alone. Nobody else could have manipulated things. Was that when it was closed? Yeah, I think it's a very special place. And Joe, after he had his big heart attack, had his quadruple bypass this past year. He's doing really good. He came to the premiere. Loved having him there. He and Ron and I are all best buddies. I encourage you to go. Montana Vortex, Columbia Falls, Montana. Check out their website. And I don't mean to leave anybody out, and this man should never be left out. Jonathan Dover, retired Navajo Ranger. He's made many appearances on the Skinwalker Ranch show. He's a graduate of the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. The man is super smart. I was very, very lucky to have met Jonathan at my premiere in Phoenix for Missing 411 premiere. Him and his partner Stan, they're not exceptional people. They're smart investigators with brilliant minds. Now, many of you think that, well, he was a Navajo Ranger, so he wanted to investigate all this stuff. That would be incorrect. I think, in fact, I know for a fact, his boss called he and Stan into the office and said, hey, we've had a ton of issues, reports, complaints about UFOs and Bigfoot. You're going to be the new Bigfoot UFO team that goes and investigates all of them. You're going to figure it out. And Jonathan said, well, he said it in the film. Well, I guess we're the UFO X-Files for the Navajos. But he didn't do a good job. He did an outstanding job investigating all those. And when you hear the man speak and do his presentation, you're blown away. Because he came to the same conclusions that all the rest of these people came to. He calls Bigfoot pan-dimensional. And then he talks about his Native American roots and the history behind that. Stunning. Now, remember, I started over on that side of the fence thinking that everything academics said was the truth. And reading their books. Oh, it's an ape, it's a gorilla, it's Paranthropus, it's Gigantopithecus. After spending time around the Hoopa Reservation, I quickly figured out, oh, there's much more to this than just that. And then after going to dozens and dozens and dozens of Bigfoot conferences, sitting in and just watching some and speaking at others, ideas start to come together. I've never met anybody that was on the paranormal side of Bigfoot that migrated to the ape gorilla side of Bigfoot. Everyone I knew started at the ape gorilla side and migrated to the paranormal side. Because once you understand, there is little to zero evidence to support this side. But there's a mountain of physicists, scientists that support this side. And that is what the movie is about. I've had some comments that, well, you just picked all the people that support your own opinion. I picked people that have their own opinion. I never asked anybody to say anything in that movie. I never asked them to blend their statement into what I thought at all. I picked these people because they had spent decades studying the topic and coming to their own conclusions on their own path. And everybody came from a different route. Harvey Pratt, Native American Chief, Cheyenne Arapaho. Jonathan Dover, retired Navajo Ranger, Navajo tribe. These men were raised with their Navajo and Cheyenne Arapaho beliefs. Both of them were federal law enforcement trained. Both of them followed a path to come to their own conclusions on this topic. The same with everybody else, folks. Everybody else. Not me directing them, me just inviting them to talk. It wasn't my opinion that I tried to portray in this film. It was the consensus opinion of every one of those researchers. And I want to thank everybody that was in that film from the bottom of my heart for helping us put that together. And I just hope you thought I portrayed you correctly. So thank you. Now, let's get to the case today. This is an interesting one. The man's name was Joseph Pacha, P-A-C-H-A, 75 years old, missing November 25th, 2025. He was last seen at his residence at 241 South Sagebrush in Bluff, Utah. Now I find this a very interesting location, considering what I just told you. This is where Bluff, Utah is located. This is the Four Corners area of the U.S. This is the far southeast corner of Utah. Bluff is in this middle of nowhere place. 50 miles due east is Mesa Verde National Park. You may know that if you've read my books because I've highlighted people that have disappeared there. Now, I was just talking about Jonathan Dover. In the movie, he talked about Shiprock. This is the Navajo Reservation. Oh, isn't that something? Probably 50 miles away from the city we're going to talk about. And all of the unusual UFO, Bigfoot-related activities here, UFO activity here. This whole area is Native American intrigue. Now this is the city of Bluff that we're talking about. This is where Joseph lived, 241. This is the San Juan River. The San Juan River flows all the way down through the area near the Navajo reservation. Parts of it has really good fishing, but all of it is filled with intrigue. Bigfoot, UFOs, everything around this river. This is the driver's license photo of Joe Pacha. It was stated that he now has a small beard, mustache. And that's supposedly what he looks like, or very close to that today. Now, the area he lived in, Bluff, it's in San Juan County, 2020 consensus of just 240 people, down from 320 in 2020. In 2000. It's incorporated in 2015, elevation 4,380 feet. It's just 22.6 square miles in size, not a big city. The town was originally settled in the 1800s by Mormon missionaries coming west. And it was named for the bluffs in the town. When you're in the town, you can see the big bluffs on the side. It's situated on the far southeast corner of the state. The population boomed in the 1950s because of a uranium discovery nearby. It's located on what's called the Colorado Plateau, adjacent to the San Juan River. And the landmark for the city is something called the Twin Peaks. If you look it up, you'll see it. They're kind of interesting looking. And the city is located in San Juan County, and the county seat is Monticello. Joseph Pacha has one son, Rain. He lived in his residence close to the San Juan River, and he was last seen at his residence at about 4 p.m. on November 18th. Now, I looked up the originations of that name Pacha, P-A-C-H-A. Two sources for the origination. One is Turkish, meaning like a high-ranking governor or official, and the other is Latin for peace. Now, Joseph had agreed to meet with some friends at a local cafe called the Cow Canyon Cafe, and he no-showed. Wasn't like him. He was also supposed to be at 2 different Thanksgiving dinners. He no-showed at those. Highly unusual. And he was eventually reported missing to the San Juan County Sheriff's Office. He lived alone. Well, the search and rescue began on November 28th. Now remember, he was last seen on the 18th of November, so they had many days to figure out where had he gone. In 10 days, you can go a long ways. Well, they discontinued the search on December 1st. It wasn't very long. Now, Joseph had a son with a woman who appears to be a somewhat family spokesperson. There are many comments from friends about Joseph. One of them was that he was one of the coolest and nicest people I ever met. And he always seemed to have his phone with him. This is something interesting. He always went to bed very early. He liked to take hikes off the cuff, just take off and hike. He was loved by everyone in the community, and nobody had ever seen any suicidal behavior by him. Many people said he's super skilled in the outdoors, hiking, outdoorsman, and historian of the area. And he was always seen in sneakers around town, but he had his boots when he went on long-distance hikes. Well, when he was reported missing, the San Juan County Sheriffs checked his house, found his truck in the driveway, went to the front door. It was unlocked. They walked in. He lived off the grid. And just recently, he had put in a public water line to his house. And he purchased potting soil and plants and was going and erecting a garden. And friends said he was excited about this. So he was looking to the future. His occupation, according to friends, was as an outdoor wilderness guide and artist. I attempted to figure out what kind of art he did, but I couldn't confirm anything. Again, his former partner who he had the son with said his disappearance is unprecedented. Something like this had never happened before to him. She said that Joe liked the ritual of having his coffee with cream every morning. I know there's a lot of people like that. So just keep that vision in your mind. When the deputies entered his home, they first saw on the counter his coffee cup with the creamer right next to it. Now again, this obviously had been sitting there for a week and a half, at least. And it was described by his ex as super unusual. Made his coffee and he drank his coffee. Also nearby was his wallet, keys, and phone were in plain view. Again, many of his friends had commented that, no, he didn't leave the house without his phone. The ex also stated that in recent times she'd gone hiking with him and found him not to be a risk taker. And she said he is a very smart man. And his son confirmed this. His son also said that his dad showed zero signs of dementia or Alzheimer's. And he had no health conditions. And that's pretty unusual for 75. The ex also said that Joe was very unique, soft-spoken and deliberate, her words, but intense, present, and highly informed on issues. Others said that he was the kind of person that would never give up on anything. When you think about that, it intrigues me. Why? Well, first of all, if you're a follower, you know I've portrayed many of these cases in the past, almost exactly this scenario. But usually we don't have the confirmation from others that the health was great, so he wasn't in poor health, and no dementia, no Alzheimer's, and no suicidal thoughts. And he had something to look forward to. He's building his garden. So where did he go? These kind of things remind me of him looking out his window and seeing something and so intriguing that he walked outside to look at it and something happened. Now, one magazine article stated that search and rescue did bring out dogs. It's the only time I've ever heard dogs. Other reports stated that the search and rescue used drones, ground pounders, and helicopters. So I can't confirm the dogs were used because other people said they weren't. So I'm not sure what to believe on that. Other people stated that there's a trail along the river right near Joe's house. And when you walk on that river trail, there's a lot of brush, trees that cover the trail when you're walking. It's been a long time. Joe should have showed up. He was a very stable person in that community, and the community cared about him a lot. I read a lot of posts about this, and I did not find anyone saying anything negative about this man. Obviously, somebody who was really smart, because the comments were made that he knew so much. Now, the San Juan River is known for parts of it are known for super good fishing and also known for highly unusual entities, like I told you about. Now, the San Juan County Sheriff's Office listed a November activity report. The total incidents for the whole county for the whole month were 173. They made 318 traffic stops, wrote 164 citations. They arrested and booked 27 people. The inmate population in their jail was 85. The county population in 2025 was 14,812. And the square mileage area, it's the largest county in the state of Utah at 7,933 square miles. That is big. Oh, I know you're there. I know. They know you're there too. They love you. Yeah. So, he disappeared without his phone, leaving his coffee behind, which that was a ritual. What would urge somebody to walk away from a ritual, leaving his phone, wallet, keys, truck behind? What? Were they summoned? I don't know. I do know I greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Huck even said, thanks for being here, you guys. That's what the whining was. She goes, Dad, I want to be on film some more. Hey, you want to be on film again? Yeah? Okay, see. Yeah. Hey, want to say hi? Want to say hi? You're a good girl. Say hi. They love you up there. Yeah. Yeah, you're a good girl. Yeah, you're a good puppy. Yes, you're a good girl. Yeah, oh yeah, you're a good puppy. Okay, there you go. You happy on screen again, huh? Are you happy? Yeah, you're happy. Okay, you guys, Paulides out.